Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to do some router work on this Stewie character from the animated TV series Family Guy. And it's going to be a simple case of routing out all the white sections, just leaving us the black lined area. Then we'll cut it out on a scroll saw and then basically just fill it in with coloured resin to match the colours that it should be. Now it's going to be routed out on 12mm hardwood plywood. I use this on a lot of my projects now and it routes out really nice and I've had no issues. Ideal for indoor pieces, obviously. As always for me, we've printed out our template there. This measures in at 10 inches by 8 inches today. We've popped it onto the plywood using painter's tape. Got a nice pen or a pencil and literally just draw around it. This is the way I prefer to do things. Takes a matter of minutes and it's all part of the process. Then when you remove that, you can obviously use that again, same as your carbon paper. And there's our image all nicely transferred on there for today. What I like to do personally is just pencil the areas that we want to remove, like so, just so we don't go away, come back and start removing the lines. Well, that will be the end of your project. So all these shading areas, all inside the eyes, all around here, that will all be removed. The areas that aren't shaded, they will stay behind. And like I just said, we will fill them all in with resin afterwards. As always for me on these projects, nice little CNC bits. They come with 15, 20, 30 degrees. Amazon or eBay for me. I will put links in the description. If I just get one open, I've had this one open for a while. They'll probably all just tip out now. I think that's upside down, but tell you what, we're going to go for it. There we go. So they've all tipped out as promised. So there's our little bits there. Get a nice sharp one. They do come with a small shaft on, a 3.175mm, but that will fit your Dremel if you prefer to use the Dremel router attachment. If not, you require a 6.35 reducer collet, basically just a little tube, and you slide your CNC bit into there. That will now fit your 1/4 inch router. Obviously, if your router takes 1/2 inch shanks bits, you're going to need a bigger adapter collet. We will use this to do all our lines with. Remember, always route out up to the line. These are all insets, so we're moving the inner section. So we'll route up to the line there and up to that line there. Never on the line. If you're going to go on the line there, by the time you've done that line and go around that little section, you would reduce the centerpiece there, or saying there, you would make that smaller. So we want to go up to that bit and up to that bit. You'll see as we go along. So once you've more or less done all your lines, you should just about make out the pencil lines. It doesn't matter if you go slightly over, nobody's going to notice, and I certainly won't tell anybody. So we do all our lines with the little CNC bit there. Once we've done that, I use these end milling bits. These are the same size shaft on them, 3.175mm, so they literally just fit the same adapter collet. We set it to the same depth and then we will use this simply just to remove all the shaded areas. Okay, let's pop in the CNC bit first, if we can find it, into our adapter collet, and then we'll simply start doing the lines on this one. Right, so we've got the CNC bit in the router there. You can just about see. I have a little piece of wood like that with 3mm and 4mm set up on it, and we know that just fits in there nicely. Excuse me, wrong one. That just fits in there nicely. So that's about 3mm deep. Or you can also do a couple of samples. That's just on the side there. Just something that you think is deep enough. Remember, your plywood's made up of different layers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on this one. So I've more or less gone down 2 layers, which is roughly, we put one of the little bits alongside, is about the same thickness as your CNC bit. And that's plenty deep enough to put any of your resins in or paints. Right, let's start routing this one out. Right, we've made it all the way round with that little CNC bit there, no problem. They are getting a bit worn now, so I think I'm due a new order. So it's simply just remove that now. We'll pop in one of these end milling bits. These are great because they route out the base of the wood, plus also you can nibble away at the sides and get them a bit nearer should you want to. And it's just a simple case of sliding that in. You notice on mine, I always remove 1 or 2 sections. So we can pop that in the router, set it to that depth there, and basically remove all these sheds out areas. Or we could have used one of those that we decided that we were happy with to the left there. So we'll pop this in the router and basically remove the remainder of this project. So we've gone all the way round with that end milling bit, and that's come out really nice. You can see from that. I have noticed with certain plywood, and I get it from the same supplier, sometimes I'll be known to route out these top section, and there can be different colours underneath there. There could be voids, different holes. Sometimes you just get lucky with the quality of your plywood. So I'm quite happy with this one. That's so nice that you could actually just paint in that if you wanted to. Put your paints in there and give it a really light sanding. The only thing with plywood, you can't over sand it or you'll remove those top veneers as you go along and be a lighter wood underneath. So be a bit wary of that. Now the next stage for us is literally just going to cut it all out first. Then we will go over with a mouse sander. There's not a lot of tidying up to do inside there, as you can see. We just want to get in with a Dremel and a little engraving bit. Just get these little corner bits out. And we can slightly alter things that are maybe not to the way we like them. There's one inner cut there, just between the legs. I'm going to cut that piece out. I'm going to worth the effort, but it's here anyway. So we'll drill a little pilot hole in there. And basically going to cut this all out on a scroll saw. Now there's 3 types of blade. There's fancier blades, but there's 3 types of a pin blade. They come on your cheaper saws. And they have a pin at each end, and they just hook on. Remember, smooth on with the teeth on the way down, rough on the way up. That way you know it's in the right way. Now you could use this on here, no problem. The only issue you would find is you won't get that blade fed in between the legs because those pins in the way. So then you would have to go on to pinless blade. All your professional boys use these. They have a fancy clamp that clips on top and bottom. They will do that job also. But for me personally, I like spiral blades. The teeth are spiraled, the full length of the blade, you can just see that there maybe. There we go. And they will cut in any direction. People either love or hate spirals. I don't use anything else. However, with my little Draper scroll saw, it only takes pin blades. So I have to use these clamps at top and bottom. And they can be a little bit of a pain sometimes because you've got to use an Allen key to loosen that. Take the clamp off, feed it underneath, put the clamp on, tighten it up, hook it onto your saw, take up the tension, and so on and so on. So if you're going to purchase a scroll saw, get one that takes pinless blades. Right, we'll set this all up and quickly just cut this one out. You can see from that we've made it all the way around with that pegas number 5 scroll saw, no problem. That's cut out fine. I have no problem with that. And there's our little chap there, ready for staining, general tidy up, and a bit of sanding down. You will find a little bit of nodules on the back. Quick bit of sandpaper, that's gone. And the same there, that takes a matter of minutes. So we'll give it a general tidy up. It doesn't really need it if you can look really close. We just want to basically get rid of those pencil lines. Back of it's fine. We are going to cover all this. If resin's not your thing, you could put paint in there now, just as easy. And just give it a very light sanding over the top, like so. Just to get rid of those pencil lines. For the tidying up, not so much on this one, but on previous projects, as always for me, just a little engraving bit. These are just cheap eBay specials, and they come with different heads on. Not that one. That one's a carving bit, a routing bit. These are engraving bits, totally different. But we'll get one with a nice flat end on. Pop that in a flexi cable. I cannot recommend these enough. This is just another cheap eBay special, and that attaches to the end of your Dremel, and we'll just use that just to go in there, a quick tidy up, just to say we've given it a go. Then a mouse sander, we'll just skim over the top of that. I mean, look at the state of that sandpaper. Hopefully we can find a new one before we use that. And then a bit of sanding down with normal paper, just take those sharp edges off. We'll do that next. Right, so we went over it with the mouse sander, we went over it with sanding paper, and we got those little engraving bits inside. Just give it a nice clean out. And you can see from that we've lost all our pencil lines. And if I can just show you that bit there, that's what you get if you're over sanding. So beware. And see these top sections there, I just took off those layers. That doesn't matter to us because we are going to paint this now. So I'm going to literally just paint it all black. Black painter's paint, should I say. I use it on all my outdoor projects. This will be an indoor piece, but obviously with the resin in. Due to the UV lights, personally won't put resin outside. It'll soon fade in time. I don't know how it will stand up with the weather. So this will just be a simple case of popping this on. It certainly would be easier to spray this one, as I've got no spray. I'm going to start this off, then we'll go outside and just take my time and just get... All those side walls are quite important, because when we come to put our resin in, poor thing's got a black eye now. When we come to put our resin in, we're not going to go to the top. We still want to feel the routed out sections. So we can just throw this in, just making sure we get all those side walls like so. Not forgetting your side sections as well. And the way we're going, I'll probably end up painting the back of it as well. Okay, I'll come back when this is all nicely painted and dry. Okay, there's all our black paint on. It doesn't look a lot at this moment in time, but hopefully when we put our resin inside, those black lines really stand out nice, and hopefully it'll all be good at the end of the day. So that's it. Paint's on. Now I'm literally going to spray a bit of varnish on this, only because I do like a bit of shine on my projects when they finish. Plus it'll give it a bit of a sealant, really. It's an indoor piece, so we don't really need a lot. And hopefully the little bit of varnish, plus the paint we've already put in, that will stop a lot of any of those little bubbles thinking. So, and you will notice the black will stand out a lot better. Not too much, just enough to say we gave it an extra shine. Even though it is actually gloss paint, just not quite shiny enough for me. I'll go outside and we'll throw a bit on the sides as well. And then we'll go and find some resin and basically start filling this one in. Right, resin time. You can see from that we've got a nice enough shine. What I need for my little projects. So now it's just a simple case of filling it in somewhere near the colours that it should be. For me today on the resin side of things, it's going to be Vista 1A your resin, and B, your hardener. And it's what they call a 1-to-1 mix, and you mix it same amounts of each. So whatever we use of A, we want the same amount of B. I just use these little plastic party cups. They're ideal because they have grooves up the side. And I'm just going to count up 4 for A, and obviously 4 for B. Some resins you measure by volume, some you will measure by weights. Some resins are deep pour resins, some resins are craft resins. So just do a bit of research and read your labels. But I've got no problem with this one. I've used other resins in the past and certainly had no issues with them either. For mixing wise, just cheap plastic knife, forks and spoons. I've got one left, so I'm going to have to clean this one every time for the different colours. And these are ideal for mixing. We do have that lovely little scoop on the back there, and that's just enough for us to tip into each place like so. And once we've got it in, we may need a little cocktail stick, oversized stick, just to brush it around and help it on its way. Once that's all coloured in with the nice colours, there'll be a red for the trousers, light blue for the shoes, yellow for his shirt, white for the bottom section of eyes, and some kind of skin tone for the remainder. Once it's all filled in nicely, just get a little lighter, preferably one that works, and we just go over the top like so, once the resin's in obviously, and that just helps all those bubbles nicely disappear. And then we'll put it to one side and come back in 24 hours and see what we've got. Right, I'll mix the 2 resins off camera. So A and B, nothing too complicated there. I always transfer B into A. They do say put the 2 into a 3rd container. Personally myself, it's something I've never done and I've never had any issues. And for colouring wise, just acrylic paints, just cheap acrylic paints. There is dyes out there, inks, powders, anything you prefer to use. So we'll mix this up first, then when we come back, we can start filling this one in. Right, there's our first batch of resin nicely mixed. Remember, with resin, you want plenty of ventilation. Please put the correct mask on and wear your gloves. Don't follow me. Please put your gloves on, proper mask for resin, and get plenty of ventilation running through. And if you find once you start playing with resin, you can have some certain condition with your skin, and you can end up being quite sore, and it can be nasty stuff if you breathe a lot of it in, obviously. So once I finish my talking, I'll throw my mask on and I'm good to go. Anyway, here's our colour. We're going to go with red first, the trousers. Well, the largest piece for now. We're just going to put it in. Now they do say 10% colour per the amount of resin. Personally myself, I've just mixed it to suit, and I can honestly say I've never had one project that hasn't cured or set, no matter how much we put in. Once we start putting this in, we will speed things up a little bit. So we've mixed it around there nicely. We can do a little bit of a sample just to see. Remember, we've got a nice dark background, so it should be fairly dark when it's filled in like so. Remember, we'll put so much in and then we can help it along its way with the cocktail stick. Now, I want a little bit more in there, so I'll pop a bit more in and then literally we can start filling this one in. Right, there's our last bit, just gone in nicely. So as the colour's been going in, we just skim across with our lighter, and that is just enough to help any of those little bubbles disappear. And that's it. That's all we can do for now. We will simply put this to one side for a good 24 hours. Put a nice cover over it, because any flies or dust, they will find it for sure. Okay, we'll come back in 24 hours. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. Now it's less than 24 hours later. Personally, I would leave this for a couple of more days just to make sure, but we can see from that everything's nice and solid. Certain resin manufacturers say it takes up to 30 days to fully cure, but for me, I'll be quite happy just to hang that up now and have no issues with that. So it measures in at 10 inches by 8 inches across. Stewie from the animated cartoon Family Guy. For the routing side of things, we use our little CNC bits. Remember, you want the adapter collet and end milling bits for all the routing outside. I will put description in the links in the description, should I say. And then we've just painted it with Painter's Touch paint. I sprayed on a bit of varnish, not that it needed it, just gives it a nice glossy finish. And for all the inlay side, we mix Vista 1 resin and use acrylic paints to colour with, and that's it. So we've had it all on this little project today, and it's turned out fine. Nice little project, nice little fun things you can do whilst you're in your shed just messing about with things. I do like to use resin a lot, should I say. Just makes it easier for me than actual painting. But remember, these will have to be indoor pieces myself personally, because that resin, I think once you get the UV light from the sun and what have you, and the cold weather, could certainly do it some damage. Plus remember, it's also on 12mm plywood, so once the water gets onto that, that's going to be ruined. I will just add a little hook at the back here for hanging purposes, and that's it. Stewie is finished. Thank you very much for watching.